Hello and welcome back to another episode of her Gypsy Soul podcast. This stories that bind us. I have a slightly different background because I am not in Los Angeles anymore. I left LA last week and I'm back on my little gypsy lifestyle. I'm currently in Arizona, in Phoenix, Bolt and I, and we're exploring, we're staying with a friend, and I'm getting some music done, which is like totally looks like it's not working, but it is. And with no further ado, I have another amazing guest today, and I'm sorry I didn't have an episode last week because I was just busy moving and I was like, this is just like not happening. But you know, I try to be as consistent as possible. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, of course. And with no further ado, I have another amazing guest. Her name is Jaynee Weber. We just wrote a song together, The Power of Goodbye, a song we wrote a while back, and we finally got back together and decided to finish our song that's going to come out the end of the month. Jaynee is a musician, singer, songwriter. She's very spiritual. We really connected right away on so many levels. She's a sound healer, and I wanted her to share her story also with how she met her husband. She has some great relationship advice and self-empowering techniques. So with no further ado, here's my really good friend, Jaynee Weber. Hi, Jaynee. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So we recently did a song together and we met at a songwriter convention, the Kathy Heller convention, right? Music convention,
Yeah.
Whatever it was called, Sing Keepers. And yeah, so we kind of bonded over so many things, talking like spiritualism and crystal healing and sound healing. And you are a sound healer and you're an artist, singer, songwriter. And you also have an amazing story on how you met your husband after many disappointing relationships. So I'm just going to give it up to you and tell us a little bit about yourself and give those of us that are still looking for our soulmate some advice, and also on your experience with sound healing and the powerful, ways we can heal ourselves.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Well, I became a bride in my 40s, first time. And I had really sort of given up trying to meet my husband. And I feel like for me, it really, the cliche was true. And that is that he showed up when I wasn't looking for him. I was satisfied and grounded in myself. And I was nurturing my own aspirations and my own dreams. And my heart was full of this incredible joy that I was living life on my own terms, because I think so much we're guilty of trying to fit into a certain mold with each person we meet. And that to me was just crazy. And even like before I met my husband, I had met this guy, and he seemed like such a cool dude and all of this. And we went on a couple of little dates, and then he said, that whole thing that you do, that I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you play those crystal bowls that you do and you kind of sing. Can you just stop doing that? If you did, you'd be perfect. And and I just was like, no way. I'm not giving up like this essence of my being just to fit into your idea. You know what I mean? Because that just was not who I was. And the funny thing about my husband is, initially when I met him, it was way back in 2012. And I didn't recognize him as a potential partner because I just kind of was in my own stuff. And so, but in a way it was good because I was not looking, you know what I mean? Like I was just like doing my thing, which was music. And we both at the time were following this spiritual teacher named Amma. She's based in India, and she has programs in the United States. And each time she comes, she wants to have musicians that would play for her during her program. And so he and I met because we were both basically preparing music, sacred mantra music for Amma. And so, that was kind of our first like initial meeting. And another, 5 years of just seeing him. I would see him in Dallas because every year she had a program in Dallas. And then once in a blue moon, the local Austin chapter would have these meetups, right? And I would go, and maybe he would be there, maybe he wouldn't. And, he was just kind of there, and I was kind of there, but I was still living my life, doing my thing. And something I haven't told many people is, after, a string of really frustrating relationships, I realized the common denominator in all of them was me. And I said to myself, you know what? I think I need to work on like what's in here, because I don't like what's showing up in front of me. And I knew enough to realize that there was something in my own self that was not authentic, because I wasn't drawing in really anyone that was like remotely emotionally available, all that stuff. And so for 7 years, I basically took a sabbatical from dating, and just really leaned into my own stuff, my own spiritual journey. And like I said, that was part of when I met my husband. And so again, I was just really dialed into working on my own stuff, that I just really, at that point, I just really wasn't, seeing him in that light of being like a romantic partner. But then, like I said, 5 years later, in 2017, I was on my way to a local temple to do chanting, which is what I would do is go on Thursday nights and lead some chanting of sacred mantra. And we call it, in my tradition, we call it bhajans. So we would just sing bhajans. So something in me had this feeling on my heart that I should give him a call and see if he was going to the temple, which was weird because I never called him unless, it was to talk about maybe an Amma thing or whatever. Like maybe like I might have spoken to him once or twice a year. And for some reason on that day, I was going to call him. So I called him. I was in my car and I said, hey, it's Jaynee. I'm on my way to the temple. I just was wondering if maybe you wanted to meet me there. And he goes, I'm already here. I said, okay. So I went to the temple. I did the program, and when it was finished, we were walking out, and he says to me, "What are you doing this weekend?" And it wasn't in a way of, "Hey, I want to ask you out." It was just a curious kind of, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I'm not doing too much because I have a gig on Sunday, and I'm facilitating the music at a spiritual place in Boerne, Texas, which is a suburb of San Antonio, on Sunday morning." And he goes, "That's funny. I'm going to be near San Antonio on Sunday morning." I said, "You are?" He goes, "Yeah, but the town I'm going to is called Boerne, Texas." And I go, "Wait a minute. Is it spelled Borene?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "That's Boerne." I said, "We're going to the same town on the same day." I said, "What time do you have to be there?" He said, "Noon." I said, "Well, my gig ends at noon, but it's a small town that, you want to ride with." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." And I said, well, dude, listen, you got to be like ready to go for like 7 in the morning. Like, can you do that? And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that." So he showed up at my house, on the dot at 7. Like 5 till 7 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I had curlers in my hair and I was in a bathrobe. And then the doorbell rings and I answer it. And I'm like, "Oh man, I gotta get my, oh man, So So at any rate, it was really the beginning of this beautiful relationship. You know, we spent 2 hours in the car, and we had discovered in that car ride that we had all this common interest in music and just life in general, and just like really cool. And then when we got to the gig, I saw him in action. He was attentive, he was helpful, he took the initiative, and I was just like looking at him going, wow, what a great guy. He seems so cool, man. Like, how come I didn't see this before? You know, it was like finally the Cupid was sending an arrow and like hitting us both. Here you go. And so from there, that was the foundation of our relationship was really just kind of a friendship and a strong interest in music. And so what I have a good friend, and she's been divorced for a while. She's getting her feet wet, and so she's kind of trying the whole dating experiment. And so she's been asking me for my advice. And so I've been telling her, get yourself out there, do stuff, but don't go out with any expectation, right? Just like have fun. Like I see you like walking your dog everywhere. I think that's great because you're out and about, so potentially, you could meet someone. And so she actually went on her first hike on Saturday, and just, she had a great time, and she's gonna, keep doing stuff like that. And so, for me, that was part of the trick of being single, is just to put yourself out there, but to take away the expectation of like trying to meet anyone, because that puts a lot of pressure on yourself.
Absolutely. And I agree with you that it shouldn't stop you. Like I've become so independent. I'd love to have the perfect person, but I also enjoy being on my own and exploring alone. I don't need someone to like go and, oh, let's check out this pond over there, or let's check out this little town over there. Like it's good to be very self-sufficient and independent, because that is also very attractive, and it's also very liberating, because then you don't need someone, right? Because some people, they need someone, like they can't do things alone.
Yeah.
That's such a great, beautiful story. Oh my God, you've known each other for so long.
Well, sometimes love is just right under your nose.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Is he right there? Is he right there?
He actually just came in from work, so.
I'm like, is he going to get him or something? Like, you're like,
Oh, well, I was actually going to turn off the stove because I realized I had turned on the burner right before we started our conversation.
Oh, don't burn the house down. That's such a beautiful story. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great advice. It's true. It's like, when you're too desperate, things don't really happen. And if somebody wants to change you, or you want to change someone, it's obviously not the right match, because you should never have to change someone,
Absolutely. I mean, that is just so key. And, in the same way, you might meet someone, and like on the surface, it seems like, oh, maybe this could work for me. But the reality is, if you're not really feeling an authentic connection, sometimes our souls talk to us on a really primal level. That gut feeling that we have. To me, I always learn that that's coming from a higher energy center in me, and to listen to that. And I had also been on a couple of dates with a guy who just seemed so nice and such a sweet man. And I remember saying to him, I just feel like I'm taking up the space for the woman that you're meant to be with. And a week later, he met the woman who would become his wife, you know, and she
Wow.
was just like a perfect match for him. And now they have this beautiful family. And I'm so glad that I listened to that inner voice in me, because if I had taken up her space, right, then they may not have ever had that connection, you know. And so to me, that's another thing to keep in mind is don't necessarily try to make someone fit into your universe. And I know I was fortunate to meet my husband organically, but I have to say, someone also told me this, and I thought it was so cool, and it really did come to fruition, is to have a list of qualities that are kind of your non-negotiables for a partner, so that when they show up, then like like what you can and cannot accept for a long-term relationship, and you're clear on that, so you don't get suddenly so muddled and confused, and then 3 months later you wake up and you're in this relationship with this person who's just not at all right for you. you know
That is so true. I feel that is so true. It's like the law of attraction, like really knowing,
Exactly, the law of attraction.
you
It
know,
is so much the law of attraction.
yeah.
Uh, and there are definitely some really cool meditations that people can do on getting clear about what their vision is. And I know a few years ago, it was really kind of the trend to do vision boards. I don't know if you ever have
I
done.
love vision boards. I have vision boards. Yes. And I totally believe in that. I totally believe in that.
Yeah. So I had a vision board too before he showed up as well. And I would just, take it out and look at it. And part of my vision was to have a partner who not only had a strong spiritual practice, but who also wanted to share it with me, and who also was into music, but also not just into music, but like wanted to create music with me. Because I don't know what your experience has been, but from time to time I would date other musicians, and they had absolutely no interest in creating with me. And so it was just like an exercise in futility. Here I was like trying to convince this person that we should collaborate or whatever, and it was just exhausting. They weren't dialed into my frequency, I wasn't dialed into their frequency. And that's the other thing, a really big piece of the puzzle that it took me a long time to get. And if anyone is listening that has had this experience, just be gentle with yourself, because you're only human. And I know there are times that the heart wants what the heart wants. But if someone is walking away from you, just let them go. Let them go on their path, bless them, wish them well, and move on. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's a vibrational frequency. It's just like you're tuned in, your energy signature has its own radio station. And sometimes a person shows up and man, it's like, hey, we're singing the same song. This is great. That's because you have a resonance with that person's energy. That's why it feels so great to be around them and to be near them. But at the same time, you could be listening to punk rock, and this person shows up and he's listening to classical music. Well, that's going to clash. And so of course they're going to go their separate way, and you're going to go yours. And that, it was funny because my friend recently was chatting with a person, and then he, as they say, ghosted her, and she was really sad. And she texted me, she goes, what did I do wrong? And I said, wait, stop. If you have that programming running in your head every time a person just doesn't resonate with you, you're going to be exhausted because you're constantly telling yourself, oh, I did something wrong. I am bad. I am worthless, or whatever. So not only does it exhaust you, but it also muddies up your vision, right? Because then all of a sudden you're sending out these frequencies of I am worthless, I do things wrong. And so then, again, you're sending out the wrong radio signatures, and you're going to draw in someone that's going to be a manifestation of, that they can reflect you as an unworthy person, right? And so again, like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It was just he was in a different vibrational frequency than you, and it's not bad, it's not good, it's just different frequencies.
It's so true. It's hard sometimes because when you have feelings for someone, or you like you said, right, you're on the same frequency and it feels right, and you're like, oh my God, this could be the person, and then things don't work out for whatever reason, or like, he drifts off or you drift off, and then, I always feel like now, so I've been in long-term relationships all my life, and all my relationships, I've actually been with people that I've had music projects with. So my ex-husband was my drummer, and then later on we separated, and my guitarist was my boyfriend for a long time. So it's been beautiful, because when you have that in common, and it's a very beautiful thing, because it's magical. It's and actually my ex is still one of my biggest fans, which I love. He always says, what, you're one of my favorite artists. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so sweet, But at some point, our frequencies just didn't work. We are really good. We are better off being really good friends.
Sure.
Than being, because my mom was always like, oh my God, you were the perfect couple and you have to get back together. And I'm like, well, it's just, we know it's not going to work. We're really good friends, and it's working that way. But sometimes it's hard, what your friend was saying, when someone, or things don't work out, and especially if someone ghosts you, because it's kind of rude, but that's just what people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they ignore you, and we have to. That's why I believe that doing the inner work, the yoga, that's why I love Kundalini, but any yoga, meditation is so important, so that you strengthen your nervous system, your inner self, that nothing can tear you down. It might hurt you, but you're not going to be like, I am worthless. Obviously, I'm not lovable, right? Because people walk away from me, or people it's not working out. And that's easy to feel that way. But you're right. If every time you feel that way, first of all, you go back to your old programming, and that's law of attraction. So you're attracting more of that, But also, it's exhausting. Like you said, it's exhausting. That's not the way to live.
And I think sometimes, when it shows up, a good practice is to say, is how I'm feeling right now serving me? Is it really helping me in the long run? And if the answer is no, am I able to let it go?
Yeah.
Right? And so for me, I've had to do that a lot through my journey, and I'm not afraid to admit that, because there's a lot of conditioning that gets embedded in us, and research is backing up now what they have said for years in quantum physics, that we are energetic beings, and we can basically get programmed at an early age, and so again, like, it's totally fine to say, you know what, I still need to have some work in this area, so I'm going to chant this particular mantra to give me more of a feeling of self-confidence, or I am going to potentially do biofeedback therapy or energy healing, or I'm sure there are some beautiful Kundalini practices one can do to tune into that higher vibrational frequency, and really just help clear yourself out. And then the other thing too, that has nothing to do with you as a being, is that sometimes we pick up other people's stuff and we think it's ours, and then we take it home with us, and we're like, why am I so angry? And then you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't angry 5 minutes ago, but I walked by someone who had a scowl on his face. Oh, right. I picked it up, you know. We're like, sometimes we're like Velcro in that sense. And so again, that's where you know, having your spiritual tools to help you connect with the divine consciousness is just so helpful on your journey. And that's the other thing, is a lot of people are looking, they keep looking on the outside for that one particular partner because they feel like they have this void within them. And really what they're longing for is a divine consciousness connection, which when you're in your spiritual practice, you can fill yourself up, you can fill your chakras up with that connection. And so that you're not as, you know, feeling like you're in lack and in scarcity.
So powerful. It's so powerful. And I always say, if it's meant to be, it will happen.
Yes.
So, you know, if some, like in any relationship, even work relationships, collaborations with other people, you know, if it's meant to be for you to work with a specific person, to be with a specific person, it will happen. If you put some effort in, obviously you got to make yourself available. And if it's not, that's also a good thing, because that's in a way protecting you from whatever, you know what I mean? It was just not good for you.
Sure. Yeah. And definitely it's okay to not be so available to people that don't match your frequency, or you don't feel like they will serve your best interests. You know, it's okay to just take a hot bath and light a few candles and just be with yourself and be on your own date. You know what I mean? I did that a lot. You know, I just would say, no thanks. I'd rather just be home chanting.
I'm so with you. I love it. I'm like, I'd rather be home doing music, you know, working on a song at least I'm doing something productive and something I love, and it's making me feel good. Because I think whenever a person, and that's another thing, like certain people are just energy vampires, you know, or they drain you. And I've learned a long time ago to let these people go, because it's not, when somebody doesn't make you feel good, there's no point in being around those people, you know, because they're not, especially in this current climate we're in, there's so much division, so much, you know, there's certain people have their opinions, and that's fine. And I like to voice my opinion too, but I'm learning to just, you know what, that's okay. You don't have to be liked by everybody, and you don't also have to be friends with everybody. You know, that's totally okay. You find your tribe, and that can be tolerant and can be accepting and still have different opinions, but people that make you feel good and that you all contribute to each other's lives in one way or another, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Tell us about the sound healing.
Well, so that is also kind of a wild and crazy story. I have always had a fascination with Atlantis, and would just always be kind of tuned into that. You know, I would hear people talk about this lost continent of Atlantis, and immediately my ears would perk up. And then in like 2010, I started to have this strong feeling like I needed to play these crystal bowls, right? And I had never played crystal bowls before, but I decided I need to do this, man. So I ordered my own set of crystal bowls, and I was singing and vocal toning with them. And I connected with a psychic, and I said, I don't understand, man. I'm just so plugged into this Atlantis frequency. I don't get it. And, you know, without missing a beat, she told me that, you know, whenever Atlantis was, that it was a really powerful sound healing technology that they had back then. And she said, you were part of a group of sound healers. And so, I put that in my back pocket, like, sure, that sounds cool, right? But, I'm still going to keep, doing my music in this life, right? And then fast forward, like a few months later, I was hearing these vocal tones in my consciousness. I would just be like, going to do a load of laundry, and I would hear this voice singing in me, and it would go, ooh, and so I would just vocalize as I'm, going out throughout my day. So I happened to go to a New Age expo fair, that one of those consciousness expos that they have from time to time, and there was a woman there who also was sitting in front of these singing bowls and doing readings. And she said, would you like a reading? And I said, yeah, okay, sure, and she said, I see you in Atlantis. You are a woman, and you are standing over crystal beds, and you would be singing, ooh, as you were calling in dolphin frequencies. And she goes, and I know because I was there. I was your teacher. Now, this
so wild.
This person hadn't known anything about my story. She didn't know that this other psychic had also pegged me as an Atlantean sound healer. So yeah, it was really tripping me out. And so I definitely believe that personally as part of my journey that I've lived before. And so sure, I definitely can see that if I've lived before, I've probably done music before, and chances are, I was plugged into the sound healing in different lives. So I try not to get too attached to the story of different past lives, because really, we're all here in the present, right? And that's what's important, is what are we creating now? And so with sound healing, I feel like it helps me return to myself and return to my divine being. And then the other thing about sound healing is, you and I had talked a little bit about mantras, and what I was told, which this really kind of, to me as a Westerner, helps me understand it and wrap my Western mind around how mantras work, is that mantras are not just words on a page. They're actually an energy field. And when you are chanting that particular energy signature, you're actually calling that energy into your being. And not only are you calling the energy into your being, but you are tuning in to a vibrational frequency that has had a momentum going for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. And so literally you're plugging into this beautiful universal consciousness energy field. So again, it's not just the words on the page. And that is why different spiritual traditions, that's why mantra is so important to them. And that's why it's also so powerful. Like, for example, when you're chanting a mantra that's going to open your heart, you feel it in your heart, because that energy is just coming in, and it's tuning into you. It's clearing out things that don't serve you, and so
Can we do one? Can we do like a little one?
Sure. So
sound is so powerful. Like, people don't realize the sound of your own voice, the vibration that makes your body vibrate, is so powerful and so healing, right? Because we are mainly water, our body, so it's very, very powerful.
Well, so I would first encourage people to start their practice with the mantra Om, because it is the universal mantra, and it's always good in the very beginning of when you sit down. You've been on the computer, you've been texting, the mind is just kind of frenetic, right? So when you chant the syllable Om, it grounds your body back into its own consciousness, right? So what we can do is we can do the mantra of the more like the mother mantra, say, I would say, but I would, I'll also chant Om in the beginning. And the mantra for tonight that I think would work really well for us is one that is the embodiment of peaceful energy. It's a mantra that means, and this is just my own interpretation, is that may all beings have peace everywhere, right? So it's Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu is the name of the mantra, but we can chant it, and I'll chant the first syllable, and then in a call and response form, and people can repeat it, and I'll chant it back with you, and then I'll chant the Lokah mantra, and then you can chant it in response, and I'll chant it with you. That works.
Okay, just hold the hands like in a mudra, like that, like.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
So we'll chant Om three times. Om. So you should be feeling some lightness in your body. You should be feeling like it's clearing things away. And if you're in traffic, it works wonders. I tell you, it's a special power you can call in as you're driving around town in these crazy times. Then we will chant the Lokah mantra, and so I will chant first. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu, and then we can do together. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. And then the closing mantra that I use is called Om Shanti Shanti, which is peace, 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 peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So how do you feel?
Good. I'm not used to those. I do like the Kundalini, the Om Namo, Gurudev Namo, which I love. But like I know, like even this one, I felt like a little vibration, and I believe in this. It's very powerful because I can always feel like this natural high, this little, vibrating and this little tingling everywhere. Just like it was beautiful.
And the thing is that this technology can be dialed in at any time, at anywhere. You don't need the internet. You just need a voice, right? And so, again, like if you're having a frustrating day, you can go and find a quiet place and just chant Om, because that is a very powerful. It's called a seed syllable, right? Because it's kind of a primary part of the mantra. Like you said, your tradition uses that particular seed syllable because it's like very primal and basic as far as the energies go, and very beautiful. But it's very simple, just Om Om. You know, if you're feeling like, for example, you're feeling like, oh, your heart's fluttering because a certain individual has decided, you know, to ghost you, then just come back to your center and chant Om, Om, Om. And the Lokah chant is perfect for for when you're feeling frustrated with social media, to help, you know, dial yourself back into a peaceful state, especially before bed. You know, you can chant the Lokah prayer, and help settle your spirit so that you're not so restless at night, you know.
I think it's so important. I see people watching TV before they go to bed and stuff like that, or watching TV in bed, you know, and that is such a no-no for me. Like, I don't even have a TV, but I always do my best to do something very positive before I go to bed, like either like write down, you know, my affirmations, or just like do some breath exercises, or like do yoga before I go to bed. I love doing that actually, to really prepare our body for rest and for, you know, peace, for mind. Like our mind is like, especially people like us who have always ideas and stuff going on, right? And all these goals and ambitions. Sometimes it's hard to like shut that off, but I
Sure.
think it helps a lot,
Yes, definitely,
you know.
definitely.
Oh, this is beautiful. And what I'll do is I'll write it out. You'll send me the chant and I'll write it out so people can actually read it in the description.
Sure. Of course. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, and this is a tool that I use, you know, throughout the day when we're, you know, in this mundane world, we can still tune into the technology. And one easy way is just, you can find this mantra on YouTube or Spotify, and play it like in a loop as you're doing your work, and you'll find that you're so much calmer and just more detached in dealing with people, because you're basically, in tuning into the mantra, you're tuning into this ancient technology, and it works whether you believe it or not. It's like gravity, you know what I mean? It's like it's going to clear out that which doesn't serve you, because that's just the energy signature it's designed to do. It's this peaceful vibrational frequency.
So very true. I feel this needs to be more spread around, you know, because people, the more, I think the more people realize how much they can heal themselves with their own tools that they have available to them, like breath work, sound work, right? The meditation, just being still. We are powerful beings. We're
Yes.
powerful beings. And there's all these, like you said, these ancient tools that are available to us, you know, at any time. And we should utilize that more.
And don't be afraid to sing along. If you find a recording that you like,
Yeah.
it's not about right or wrong. It's just about tuning into the energy frequency. And I think for me, I first was, again, from a Westerner perspective, oh, I have to sing it perfectly, and it has to be in key, and it has to be sound a certain way. You know, I had all these thoughts in my mind. You know, you just drop it. Just be like a child, you know, be curious, right? And just enjoy the adventure.
Absolutely. It's imitated. In Kundalini, a lot of times when they chant certain things that I don't know, and I'm like, and they say, just pretend you know it and sing along what you hear, because it's still a frequency. It's still creating sound. So that's the main, you know, eventually you'll learn it. But in the meantime, just like you said, be playful, have fun, you know, don't take yourself so serious. in this current climate we're on, it's very important to not take yourself so serious.
That's true. It's true. But also, there is in my tradition and other traditions, there's the concept of satsang, which basically, loosely translated, means a community of like-minded beings. And, you know, even Jesus alluded to satsang when he said, where two or more are gathered in my name, I am there. And so with satsang, it, the way we, I see it is just, it's important to be around people that share my common kind of spiritual values of positivity and peace, and be around that, because that's the thing. When we're energetic beings, it's Amma has, the teacher I mentioned earlier has said, if you go into a building and it's on fire, right, when you come out, you're gonna smell like smoke. And so, like the common environment that we're in, like this long term attitude of divisiveness and violence and hostility that a lot of people just are like taking a bath in on a daily basis, that, whether we believe those concepts or not, that can affect our frequency. So for me, I have to have that as an energy, as a sensitive energy person. I have to remember that I can't stay in that frequency very long, right? And so that's why for me, I have to be around other like-minded beings. And there are, even with, being that we're all kind of quarantining, there's still all these beautiful communities that you can tap into online. You can look up chanting groups on the internet, and if you resonate with it, you can show up for different chanting sessions, and connect with it via the internet.
Mm-hmm. Very important. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and so some things are open again, but yeah, I agree. Like there's so much out there. You just have to, again, if you communicate, like I've found some cool stuff through you and through other friends, and like whatever's meant to be for you, or like in your email you find something, or on Facebook you see something, like, let me check that out, and bam, next thing you know, you're like connected to a community that is completely resonating with your frequency, and that's a beautiful thing that you should pass on. Thank you so much. This was so beautiful. Thank you for your time and for all your insight and for sharing this beautiful love story. I love stories like that, because it's just,
you're welcome.
Yeah, and your energy is just so beautiful, and we all need more of that, get not so distracted by the outside world, but go more inside and just, focus on our own, because then when you have a strong body, a strong mind, a healthy attitude, I think that you create beautiful things.
Absolutely. And I think too, when I get triggered, I'm human too, of course. I'll see something that ticks me off. But I have to remind myself, okay, what am I going to create if I tune into that vibrational frequency of anger? It's going to lower me down. Then I'm going to have to use more energy to clear myself, and it's going to take me off course. I might have written this beautiful high vibrational song, but instead I was spending my energy, fighting with some random person on Facebook that I don't even know.
Oh my
Why?
God. Yes. I've been there so many times. I still do it once in a while. I'm like, you should know better not to even, but it's frustrating because we do want to live our truth, and I feel it's very important to still be able to express ourselves, and it's hard when you, in this climate, are being attacked for just having a different opinion. And that can be very frustrating, but because then that's my program where I'm like, I told you, right, I grew up in East Germany, so like I was always told to be quiet and shut up. And when I escaped, I said, no one ever is going to ever shut me up again. And sometimes I feel that where I'm like, don't you dare fucking shut me up, right? And I'm like, okay, it's okay. You don't have to deal with these people because they don't really matter. It's usually people that you don't even know.
Yes.
And I'm like, why are we even friends? Why am I friends with this person? And it's another thing. Facebook is become so, well, I'm like, why am I friends with these people? Like, I remember like when we would go out and I would see certain people that are friends on my Facebook or MySpace at the time, but they wouldn't even talk to me or I wouldn't talk. And I'm like, why we, this is so stupid and fake and BS. Like, it's so much better to like be interact with people that you know, so then you can actually have a rational conversation even if you disagree with something, right? Because then you know they're friends and you know their values and you can respect them and say, I don't agree, but I love you, like I get it, like, and you have a right to for your own opinion. It's just, yeah, at this point it's like, just screw it. It's a waste of energy and time.
Exactly.
People have been so, I don't even know how this happened, but it's happened and it's become so like they're here and they're grounded and standing here, not moving, not even bending a little. And I'm like, wow, that's not the way to live. And I don't want to be around that.
Sure. Yeah.
Any last words for our listeners?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. But for all the people that are really wanting to call in their beloved, the beloved is already there within you, within your heart. And the more you dial into that divine consciousness, the higher your vibration will raise. And that will enable you to meet a higher vibrational partner.
Beautiful. I guess you're speaking to me. Me and the many other single people out there.
Like directed at you personally, it was just on my heart. Like what I would have wanted to know, being single, because I was single for a really long time, and I got so tired of people being judgmental towards me and always kind of asking me about my love life. It was just so freaking annoying.
I was like, what's wrong with you? Why are you single? It's like, what's wrong?
Yes, and isn't that a rude thing to say to someone?
So rude.
Setting them up to do this like negative self-talk. Like, how about mind your business?
Or maybe I'm really happy being single, like it's so funny. And my mom for the longest time too, she's like, oh my God, we got to find you someone. I'm like, why? I mean, it's great when it happens, but it's not, it happens when it happens, but it's not. That's another thing. I believe that people sometimes feel that they have to be in a relationship or they have to be married or they have to have a kid, like it's this whole, I don't even know where that came from, but I think the bottom line is you have to be happy and live your purpose and your passion.
Absolutely, and you're doing that.
Yeah. You're so cute.
Oh no, I'm just in awe of all of your creative pursuits. I really am. I really enjoy watching you and Bolt go about your day and just all of the walks that you are taking in nature. And I'll see it on Instagram as I'm sitting on my butt. And I'll think, I need to go for a walk.
I always feel like I need to work more and walk less, but it's part of our routine and I love it. I'm so grateful for my dog because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be taking so many walks, So yeah, this guy has changed my life for sure. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And I encourage anyone, people sometimes say, and I understand like a dog is a responsibility. I get that. But after traveling a lot with him last year, I was like, actually, it's fine. You just work around it. Certain things like you're in a shopping center, you don't take the stairs. You have to take the elevator because you don't want to take what are they called?
Escalator.
They escalate because you don't want them to step on that, you know? So, but those are like little things that you just, it's no big deal. You know, you learn how to work with it. Or there's restaurants that don't allow dogs and then I just don't go there, you know?
Sure. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Thank you. And I'm also really excited. We have a song coming out. We haven't quite decided yet under what name we're going to release it, but the song is called The Power of Goodbye. And I'm excited about it. It's a beautiful song that we wrote over a year ago, probably, right? Something more than that. And that's another thing. Sometimes things just take a little bit more time and it will be released at the right time. But it is done and we're going to release it sometime this month in March. So, yes. So for everyone out there, you will hear it very soon. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I loved everything you've said, and I hope people can really incorporate that into their daily routines and into their lives and find, if they are still single, find the person that makes them happy and also love themselves first, you know, find them, accept themselves first. That's what you said, which I think is also super important to be ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, to be really in a position where you don't feel that you have to change for someone to be liked or to be the perfect person, because you should just be you. And that's what you were saying earlier, you know. Beautiful.
Do you want to do the closing mantra?
Sure.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. All your information is going to be in the description below. Go check her out, her music, and all her beautiful sound healing and other adventures she's doing. And we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye. Perfect. Both is like barking. As always, thank you for tuning in. I know there's so many things you could be doing with your time, and I know that there's so many amazing podcasts going on. So thank you for listening. I hope you connect with my guests. As always, I always say that. You never know. Like, that's why I made this podcast, so that you can connect with people that you really feel vibrational, like in alignment with, and on the same frequency. Also, this is my sun protective shawl, which I actually altered a little bit because it's been really windy. So I put like a safety pin here in the middle, which you could easily do. But this is my sun protective shawl that I don't go without when it's sunny out and when I'm driving the car, because I don't like to get driver's arm. Who does? It's so weird. Anyway, if you're interested in getting my shawl, go to jackvanb.com and take your order today. Put your order today so I can send it out to you immediately. They're handmade in Los Angeles. And also my cool apocalyptic and inked hoodie tops. They're super cool. Honestly, if you want to be like me, like I have 3 of those because I like to wear one as a shawl, one as a cover up. It's really amazing. Anyway, order 1, order 2, order 3, up to you. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please share if you like what you heard. And with that said, I wish you all an amazing weekend, and tune back in next Friday. I will soon be starting Otto's daughter stories, and it might be happening next week. Who knows? Love you guys.